If you had a favorite Thomas and Friends episode, then you would say your favorite episode is Haunted Henry, Old Iron, Edward's Exploit, The Flying Kipper, Toby and the Flood, Escape, etc. And if you had a least favorite Thomas and Friends episode, then you would say your least favorite episode is Wonky Whistle, Push Me Pull You, Edward Strikes Out, Thomas's Frosty Friend, Don't Be Silly Billy, Scar Louie the Brave, etc. And as you all know, Thomas and the Tuba is my favorite episode in the whole franchise. Great crash, great ending, the list goes on. But however, I'm going to be talking about an episode that I hate, but almost a lot of people in the Thomas fandom love. And if you read the title, then you know exactly what that episode is. Thomas and the Statue. If you have all seen my top 40 worst Thomas episodes, you all know how much I despise this episode. And some people might be wondering, why is Thomas and the Statue my #1 least favorite episode in my opinion? Well, I will be explaining the reasons why this episode sucks ass. Stay tuned! So I haven't watched this episode in years, so I'm gonna have to rewatch it to get some actual cohesive thoughts. Maybe it's better than I remember. Holy fuck. Wow, that was bad. What happened here? How did they let the show get so dry and lifeless? Why do you care about the statue? Why are you acting like Spencer? The good stuff. Before I get into why this episode is awful, I just want to point out the good stuff in it, because like any episode, it ain't all bad. So let's get to them. For starters, I like that Thomas offered to help clear the tracks for his friends despite the fact that he hates wearing a snowplow. While there are 3 episodes where he didn't like wearing a snowplow, such as Thomas Turns in the Snow, Thomas, Emily and the Snowplow, and No Snow for Thomas. But for episodes like Thomas's Christmas Party, Thomas and Percy's Mountain Adventure, Snow, It's Only Snow, this, etc., he doesn't mind wearing a snowplow. And yes, I know that Thomas was wearing a snowplow in Not So Hasty Puddings, but here, he was just whining about his snowplow, so therefore, it doesn't count. It was really nice to see Thomas offer to help clear the tracks and not whine about his snowplow like a pussy. It's one of those offering to help despite the fact that you don't like doing something moments that is actually really cool to see. I wish we saw more of this in the show. Secondly, I like the statue of all the engines with Sir Topham Hatt. Some people say that this should have been the season 9 finale, but while I do like the statue, I disagree with that, and I'll get to why later. What else? The sets are nice to look at as usual, and the music is really nice. I think that's it.
That's it?
Why the episode sucks. Okay, now on to the part that you all have come here for, to find out why the episode sucks. So let's get to why as we cover up the plot. It starts off with the narrator telling us that winter is about to show up on the island of Sodor. Then Sir Topham Hatt shows up at Titmus Sheds to make a special announcement for the engines. And he says this.
A statue is to be put up at Peel Station, he said. It will celebrate the Sodor Railway.
So Thomas was assigned to pick up the statue from the docks. Percy was curious about what it could be. Then Thomas tells him that he'll tell him once he finds out what the shape that statue is in. And we are off to a bad start right now. So Thomas shows up at the docks to pick up the statue, and he rushes Cranky to unload the statue just because he wants to see it? Like, what? Since when did Thomas get this excited about the statue? It's literally just being unloaded. Isn't it a little too early to see it? What happened to your mature self from season 5? I understand that Thomas was being impatient in the past. Take Something in the Air as an example. But in that episode, Thomas is being impatient to give his fish cars to Henry for the Flying Kipper, as he cared about engines like Henry. But here, he's only being impatient to care about nothing but a fucking statue. Like, come on. You have to care about your friends, too. So Cranky was furious and says this.
Why are you so excited to see the statue? You think it's gonna be of you? He scoffed.
But Thomas didn't give a shit about what Cranky said and watched the workmen open the crate. And so Thomas sees the shape of the statue and thinks that it could be of him.
Perhaps, he whistled,
It really could be of me.
Are you kidding me? Are you out of your mind?
Also, what even are you talking about? You don't even know what it is yet. Why are you thinking that? And when he arrives at Titmuth's sheds, Thomas decides to talk to Percy and tell him that the statue is of him.
Percy, I think the statue is of me, boasted Thomas.
Look, I get that Thomas is supposed to be cheeky, but this is not his fucking cheeky personality. So Thomas was assigned to collect the things for the statue, and even when he sees his friends, Thomas decides to be an asshole and brag to his friends about the statue.
Are you looking forward to seeing my statue? He called to Edward. Look, Thomas cried to Emily. Sir Topham Hatt will make a speech when they uncover my statue. Thomas started to talk to Percy about his statue again.
But the worst part about this episode, in my opinion, is this horrible line in the whole show.
Please stop talking about the statue. No one wants to hear about it anymore. No one wants to talk to you anymore. And neither do I.
First off, why of all characters would you use Percy for this scene? He is supposed to be Thomas's best friend, not get fucking cross with him about one small thing. Why can't you use, oh I know, James, you know, the one who got cross with Thomas in a future episode, in which that one also sucks, by the way. That would make this scene more interesting. Secondly, Thomas, listen to me right now. You have been talking about the statue not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, but 6. 6 fucking times. Not only did you make your friends not want to be your friends anymore, but also your statue bragging shit is also cat shit. Like, what did you think was gonna happen? I get that Thomas has bragged before in the past. Take Thomas, Percy, and Nicole, for example. But in that episode, Thomas was bragging as he says this.
Blue is the only proper color for an engine.
The reason he said that is because he doesn't just care about himself. He also cares about other blue engines like Edward, Gordon, and other blue engines on Sodor. Here, Thomas was only really bragging to care about himself and no one else. This is the reason why I think James should have been in Thomas's role, because he's the most vain engine on Sodor. A lot of people say that bragging makes Thomas in character, but sorry to say this, but Thomas is not. And like I said before, I understand Thomas is supposed to be a cheeky engine, but this is not the Thomas that I know and love. The Thomas I know and love is an engine who likes to be a little cheeky, not counting bragging, by the way, but also with a good heart and willing to help his friends in danger. There ain't no moment like that here. Okay, I take that back. He did offer to help clear the tracks for his friends and apologized for his behavior in the end, but still. So after Thomas clears the tracks, the engines are gathered next to the statue that's covered in snow, but they are still upset with Thomas's shitty bragging. But then, the sun makes the snow melt, and then we get to see what the statue actually looks like. I do like the statue though, but personally, I'm glad this isn't the season 9 finale, but more about it later. So the engines are happy about it, Thomas shows up to see the statue, realizes that the statue is not of him after all, apologizes, is forgiven, and it's all happy. Yay! Also, this should have not been the season 9 finale, because Thomas was just being an asswipe, aside from offering to help clear the tracks for his friends and not whine about his snowplow like a pussy. They should have used either James or Emily for this scene instead of Percy, and the ending is just plain boring. Like, why are you using a statue for a celebration? Why not use something else, like taking a photo or something? You did it with Thomas and the billboard, and you did it with Flashbang Wallop. Why not do it here? That would make this scene much better. The conclusion. In conclusion, this is the worst episode I have ever seen in my entire life. I consider this to be not just the worst episode of season 9, not just the worst episode of the hit era, not just the worst episode of the model era, but the worst episode in the whole fucking franchise. I will never lay a finger on this episode ever again. Fuck this episode. Well, at least the nightmare is over. Thank God for that. And also, I apologize if some of my criticism doesn't make much sense. I just wanted to get this video finished completely. Anyways, that's all I have for now. Make sure to leave a like on this video. Also, feel free to subscribe for more videos like this. And if you have anything to say, please let me know in the comments down below. And I will see you all in the next video. This is William the Thomas Fans Backup Channel signing off. And I hope you all have a great day.